This is chapter 6.5, Solving Proportions. Here's our key concepts for this lesson. Take a moment to get these copied and we'll go over them. First key concept is a proportion. And a proportion is an equation stating that two ratios or rates are equal. A cross product is a cross product of any proportion is or are equal. And the property of proportions is the cross products of a proportion are equal. So if A over B equals C over D, then A times D equals B times C, which is seen right here. Similarly, if A times D equals C times B, then we can put it into a proportion as A times D equals B times C. And this right here, as you can see, it forms kind of an X. That means a cross product. So I'm multiplying across, and that's where that cross product word comes from. So when I set up these two proportions, or these two ratios, remember a ratio is comparing two quantities, I'm actually setting up a proportion. And it's set up here by this equal sign. That is what a proportion is. So we can solve proportions by using our cross products. So we're going to multiply B times 90, which is 90B, and I'm going to multiply 15 times 66. And we're going to multiply 15 times 66, you can do in your calculator, as 990. And we're going to drop down 90B, divide by 90, and B is 11. Okay, so right here, this B is 11. All right, you try this one. Okay, so when we solve this, we need to do our cross multiply, and we get 9n equals 3.2 times 36. In your calculator, you can do 3.2 times 36, and that's 115.2. Divide by 9, and n equals 12.8. All right, you try this one again. See if you can get it. All right, so first of all, you start out, oh, whoops. I don't know what happened there. Okay, start off with 7 times 12 equals 14 times C, right? I'm multiplying 7 times 12 and 14 times C. So 7 times 12, you don't need your calculator for that one, but that is 84 equals 14C. Divide by 14 on both sides, and C equals 6. And that's all it is for proportions. All right, now we're going to get into some real world situations here. All right, so we have lots of word problems. So the wait time to ride a roller coaster is 20 minutes when 160 people are in line. At this rate, how long is the wait time when 220 people are in line? Okay, so first of all, we got to pick apart our problem. What is it that we know? Well, we know how long it is for 160 people, right? We know that 160 people, the wait time is 20 minutes. And we're trying to figure out how long it is for 220 people, right? So when we set up a proportion, you always want to set up the proportion to have the same on the top as the same on the bottom. What I mean by that is, like for example, we'll have wait time over the number of people. Okay, so you want to compare people to wait time. So we'll say the wait time for 160 people we said was 20 minutes over the number of people is 160. And our proportion is, we're trying to figure out what the wait time is. Well, do we know the wait time? No, it's a variable, it's an unknown. But we do know the number of people as 220. So here, now I'm going to try and figure out this wait time. So I'm going to solve a proportion, multiplying straight across, or cross multiply. We get 20 times 220 equals 160 times W. And 20 times 220 is 4,400 equals 160 W. Divide by 160. And your W is 27.5. Now, when you have a word problem like this, you always want to tell me exactly what does that mean. Well, that means that the wait time, I'm going to write it over here because I ran out of room over there. Wait time is 27.5 minutes for 220 people. All right, now it's time for a you do. All right, Alicia's class is making care packages for a local shelter. They can make 8 care packages with 240 food items. How many care packages can they make with 500 food items? Now, before I turn you on to you do, I want to help you set it up. Okay, so let's pick out the important pieces. What do we know? Okay, so Alicia's class is making care packages for a local shelter. Not cool, but I mean, it's cool, but you don't necessarily need it for the problem. But what we do need is they can make 8 care packages with 240 food items, right? And then the question is, how many care packages can they make with 500 food items? Okay, so we're going to compare care packages to food items. Now, I'm going to let you do this, set up your proportion knowing this, and then replay me when you're ready for the answer. Okay, so you should have 8 care packages to 240 food items equals some number, some care package amount over 500 food items. So I'm going to cross multiply here, and I get 240x equals 8 times 500. And 240x equals 4,000 divided by 240. And x equals 16.7 or 16 2/3. So you want to tell me exactly what that means. So this means that they can make 16 2/3 or 16.7 care packages from 500 food items. Okay. All right, here's another word problem. Mrs. Hidalgo paid $30 for 4 students to visit an art museum. Find the cost for 20 students. Okay, so I'm going to pick out what I know. All right, I know $30 for 4 students, and I'm trying to find the cost for 20 students. All right, so I'm going to compare money or cost over students. So I'm going to set up my proportion. So $30 for 4 students equals some cost over 20 students, right? My students is going to go on the bottom because I'm comparing students. My money is going to go on the top, right? And I'm going to solve this proportion. Let me use a different color so it don't get too confusing. 30 times 20 equals 4x. And that is 600 equals 4x. Divide by 4. And we get $150 is x. So that is $150 for 20 students. Now, there's another way that I could do this. Okay, do you remember setting up, I'm going to draw a line down here, work on the right side. Do you remember when we were looking at rates and unit rates. Well, I could also set up an equation to solve this. Okay, so I've set up a proportion. Now I'm going to set up an equation. Both ways I can do this. So I'm going to try and find the unit rate for the price of one student. Okay, so how do I find the price of one student? Well, I know it's $30 for 4 students, right? So I'm just going to divide 30 by 4. And the cost per student is $7.50 per student. Now, I can set up an equation to find the cost for any number of students. So here's my equation. The cost is going to be 7.5 times the number of students, right? This is your constant proportionality. And so the question asks, how much does it cost for 20 students? Well, the cost is going to cost $7.50 per student. And if I'm looking for 20, I'm going to multiply by 20. So the cost is $150. All right, you try this one. It's a 2-part question. Matthew paid $49.45 for 5 DVDs at a sale. First of all, I want you to write and solve a proportion to find the cost for 8 DVDs at the same rate. Then, secondly, I would like you to write an equation relating the cost, C, to the number of DVDs, D. How much would it cost for 11 DVDs at the same rate? So basically, similar to the problem I just worked, you're going to solve a proportion, then you're going to write an equation. Okay? Good luck. All right, so for A, we're going to compare the price to the number of DVD. So the price is $49.45 for 5 DVDs. And I'm trying to find the price of 8. So I'm going to cross multiply, and I get 8 times $49.45 equals 5x. 8 times $49.45 is 395.6 equals 5x. Divide by 5. And that is $79.12 for x. So that is $79.12 for 8 DVDs. All right, so then we're going to do B. Set up an equation. All right, so well, first of all, I need to find the unit rate, how much it would cost for 1 DVD. So that's going to be $49.45 for 5 DVDs, right? I know that. That was given to me in my problem. So I'm going to try and find out how much it is for 1. And when I divide those, that's $9.89 for 1 DVD. Okay, so I'm going to set up my equation with C being the cost and D being the number of DVDs. So the cost is going to equal $9.89 per DVD. So it wants to know how much it would cost for 11 DVDs. So the cost is going to be $9.89 times 11. And when I plug that in my calculator, that's going to be $108.79. So in a sentence, $108.79 for 11 DVDs. All right, hopefully you got that one. Here's a couple extra practice problems. This is going to be 1, this is 2, 3, and 4. All right, don't skip out on that word problem because you don't want to do it. I know you can do it. Good luck.